What's up guys, Jabril here from NeoVintage Games and welcome to episode 2 of NeoVintage News. Basically how this works is we give you guys a weekly rundown of all the biggest stories of the week, and it seems like we gotta start pretty heavy today, so let's start with the games aspect of what the first story is, which is the Sony PS5 and EA Play events are delayed, and I just want to give a shout out to all the companies in support of what's going on right now. So basically, originally Sony had a PS5 event slated for June 4th and an EA Play was scheduled for around June 11th, but due to a lot of recent events it has been delayed. EA Play is now slated for a week later for June 18th, and the PS5 event actually doesn't have a rescheduled date as of right now. Now I just wanted to take a quick second, not to make things super heavy for you guys, but as a black man who really values games and the game industry and wants to be a part of it and loves discussing it, I think if even on the surface them supporting the Black Lives Matter movement and supporting the movement to dismantle systematic racism in this country and dismantling the white supremacist state, I'm all for it, and I think it's an amazing thing, and I just wanted to give a shout out to all the different companies that have come out in support of that. And you know, we got to stand tall, and I could say, at least for me on this channel, we're big proponents and supporters of the Black Lives Matter movement to really make some real big change in this company, and I stand without a moment's hesitation with them. So I guess we can move on to our second story here, which kind of is connected but at the same time kind of its own thing. The second story is over 740 games are included in itch.io bundle. All proceeds go towards racial justice. So let me break this down for you guys. This is an awesome deal and I think you guys should know about it. So an indie game marketplace, itch.io, I believe is how it's pronounced, is hosting an insanely large game bundle to help support racial justice, and it includes over 740 games for just $5. That's insane. So itch.io is aiming to raise $500,000 for the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund and the Community Bail Fund. Proceeds will be donated entirely to these two organizations on a 50-50 split between the profits. So if you guys don't understand, basically what this is just a massive bundle of a whole bunch of different game publishers and game developers who all came together and be like, hey, throw our game into this bundle. 740 games in totality. Some are like more, these are all kind of like indie titles. Some are like relatively obscure. Some are a little bit bigger. I saw like Night in the Woods in there, for example. And for $5 you get all of these. Now, mind you, this is for PC. It doesn't have Steam codes. These are direct downloads that I believe you can import into Steam. I'm not the most PC-centric gamer, but I think this is an awesome thing. What do you have to lose, man? $5, and it goes towards a great cause. I definitely picked mine up immediately, sent the link to a couple friends so they could check out too. So give this a check out if you want some new stuff to play on PC and looking for ways to support what's going on in the world right now. This is an amazing way to do it within the game industry. So let's get on to the third story, which is one I'm very excited about. Game Gear Mini announced. So Sega has announced a miniaturized version of the Game Gear named the Game Gear Mini. It's set for release on October 6th in Japan for 4,980 yen, which translates to just under $50, 45 to $50 American cash. And there are 4 colors with each 4 games. So let me explain what's going on here. So with the kind of trend towards miniaturized consoles with pre-installed games, we've got the PlayStation Mini, the NES Mini, SNES Mini, TurboGrafx, Sega Genesis. We've got a number of these, and we're kind of like in a resurgence of like high quality emulation devices right now. And so they look like they're throwing the Game Gear into there, but this one is very different, a very non-conventional approach to this. So you're getting 4 different color models of this, but the difference is it's not just color swaps, is that each one has 4 different games in them. So in order to be able to get the entire collection of Game Gear emulation devices in every single game, you need to collect all 4 devices. So, and that would come to about $200 in totality. So let's start. The black model has Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone. So that sounds like a pretty good one. The blue model has Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan Tale, Baku Baku Animal, yellow model, Shining Force Gaiden, Shining Force the Sword of Haja, Shining Force Gaiden Final Conflict, and Nazupuyo Arl no Ru. These are the Japanese titles of these games, so some of these I recognize, some of these not so much. And then finally the red model, Revelations of Demon Slayer, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible Special, the GG Shinobi and Columns. Now this is obviously the Japanese version, and when you see a lot of these miniature consoles, everything is kind of regionalized. So most likely if the Game Gear Mini comes stateside, which it may not, it may, I don't know, the games that will be offered on each model may be way different. Some of these we're definitely going to get, like obviously Sonic, maybe Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Puyo Puyo 2. but some of these other ones, like some of the Shining Force games, might stay locked over to Japan. So if you're interested in playing those, probably take a look at the Japanese version. So also a weird little PS they put there is also offering the big window display to make the screen easier to play. Obviously this is aimed towards collectors and not a real good way to actually experience these titles. So if some of these games you're actually interested in playing, I would suggest looking into an alternative way, whether it be cart, whether it be some other form of emulation, whether it be in, for example, the Genesis collection, because some of these games are on there. Maybe look into that, because again, these devices are so tiny. Like I don't really know what to do with this. Again, this is super aimed at collectors, very obviously. This is not a great way to collect these games. The battery life on them doesn't seem like it's very good, and obviously with this big window stuff, you're getting like a 1.5 inch display, and then it kind of beams up a little bigger. So like, it's really awesome for kind of like a novelty aspect of it, and I'm a pretty big Sega fan. So who knows, maybe I'll pick up one of these. I'm probably interested the most in the blue model with Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan Tale, and Baku Baku Animal. That one sounds pretty interesting, and maybe even the black one with Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone. But if I can't get all four, but again, I'm undecided about whether this is something I'm willing to put my money towards, just because the ability to actually engage with the device, which is something that I really, really value in terms of collecting, is everything I collect, I would like to play at some point. It's not really there for these devices, so if this is of interest to you, I get it, but at the same time, it might not be something for everybody. So I guess we can move on to the next story at this point. Konami sets up Western third-party game developing division. So this is pretty important. And a lot of people are not really talking about this, but Konami making any kind of movement in the game industry, I think, is worth noticing, because again, their actions in these past few years have shown pretty much the antithesis, pulling back, getting out of game developing, and focusing on more of their money-making ventures over in Japan. So seeing them making any noise in the game industry is actually pretty interesting. Not to mention, again, the last thing we heard with them, other than these Konami collections, were actually been pretty good, was like Metal Gear Survive, which obviously not received the best. So let's take a look at what the story got. Okay, so Konami has announced it has launched a new third-party publishing unit in the West. The new game from this unit is Skeletrack, which is actually available now, so go take a look into that. Speaking to GameIndustry.biz, Konami Senior Brand and Business Development Manager Richard Jones discuss how this new initiative will focus on external studios that will build games designed to succeed in Western markets. The drive is towards publishing more titles from Western studios, Jones said. So the focus for the European team is domestic audiences. Obviously, everyone knows Konami. We have studios and teams in Japan, and we have very well-known IP, well-loved IPs. They're all being managed and looked after by our studios in Japan, and what we're looking for is complementary titles to build the portfolio with things that are perhaps new to Konami, Western titles for Western audience. So it looks like this division is not going to really have anything to do with some of the bigger titles like the Castlevanias, the Metal Gears. They're going for something new here. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be more of like an indie initiative that Konami's trying to fund, so less, upfront cash, not crazy returns, but something more regional, because again, the indie scene is pretty popular down here. There's big, kind of resurgence in artsy type games and stuff like that, walking simulators, not in a derogatory way. So perhaps they're maybe trying to cash in on that kind of venture, but we don't have too much information other than the fact that Skeletrack is coming out soon. So again, take a look into that game. Maybe that's something you'll be interested in. But I think it's something worth paying attention to, that perhaps Konami is going to be starting to make a name for themselves back in the industry again. Fifth story, Pokemon Sword and Shield Isle of Armor expansion gets release date, and then we get new details as well, and kind of like a new look at the Crown Tundra DLC as well, which is the part 2 that's set for fall. So let's get into it. We have new details regarding the Pokemon Sword and Shield's expansion pack. The first pack, which is called the Isle of Armor, is set for release on June 17th. We were shown more info on Pokemon from the Reggie family, which is Regieleki, which is an electric type Pokemon, Regidrago, which looks more on the dragon side. We got Galarian Slowbro, we have Galarian Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres from Gen 1. But the Galarian forms. Also, new Pokemon in addition will be added that weren't in the base game. And we got no release date for the Crown Tundra DLC, but that has been confirmed yet. So before I get into my thoughts on this kind of video drop that they gave us, I gotta say, I've played every single Pokemon game as they come out, but I'm by no means like a Pokemon super fan. I don't know everything about it, so if I mispronounce something, forgive me on that. I would say I'm more than a casual fan, but far from a super fan. I do really enjoy the games. I really loved Sword and Shield personally, and I enjoyed what they did, kind of opening the game up a little bit more, changing that graphical style, offering some more kind of online stuff. I actually really enjoyed what they did narratively as well. And just taking a look at the 2 DLC packs, I am interested in playing both. The Crown Tundra is definitely suited towards my styles, just because of kind of the overall aesthetic of it, and seems like what they're doing thematically. The atmospheric nature of that kind of tundra, wintry, frozen look actually looked really cool in some of the Pokemon that they showed off at that, but that's slated for fall right now, so I'm not going to say that I'm going to hold off on Isle of Armor. I'm definitely going to pick that up, give that a shot, but that looks obviously like a different type of challenge, very battle oriented obviously. So it looks pretty cool. I would say if you're interested in Pokemon at all, go take a look at the video that they dropped. You get about 3.5 minutes of pretty dope visuals and different stuff, some of which we've seen before, some of which are brand new to us. So go check that out if you're interested in Pokemon at all. And it's interesting. This is going to come out pretty much, June 17th, 2 days before Last of Us. So for your Nintendo fans, you got something exciting to play, while all the Sony fans are going to be playing Last of Us. Me balancing the two is going to be tough, but I'm going to try to figure out a way. So the last story we have today is Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, announced for August 2020. Very excited about this one. So we finally got formal confirmation of the official Kings of Amalur Twitter that a remaster of the beloved last gen RPG is coming to Xbox One, PS4, and PC, and it's set for release on August 18th, 2020 this year. Includes all DLC and improved graphical fidelity, which was kind of implied by the kind of, remaster aspect re-release of this. The original game was actually developed by 38 Studios back in 2012 and was famously written by R.A. Salvatore, Spawn creator Todd McFarlane, and then Oblivion lead designer Ken Rolston. If you've never played this game before, I highly suggest you look into it, but now with this re-release, I would highly suggest, if you're into RPGs in any capacity, go jump into this. Amazing game from last gen, super, underrated, not enough people talk about it, and I think it struck the perfect balance between having some hardcore elements while at the same time making a very compelling video game that few RPGs I think have really been able to strike that balance in the same way. So I'm really excited to jump into this version. I'm probably going to play it on Xbox personally, just because of my preferences on different game types on different consoles, but I'm excited to see it get kind of a release everywhere. It's a shame that they couldn't get it on Switch. I was hoping for that, because I love playing some of these more grindy games on the go, but that's all right. I'm willing to play it, and I'm excited to see how well they cleaned it up, because again, remasters and remakes and stuff like that are like of varying qualities. You can get everything from like the Mafia 2 remaster, which is not looking so great, where you got the Saints Row remaster, which is on the verge of a remake. So we've seen this kind of all different scales. I'm curious to see how Kingdom of Amalur kind of turns out with this remake, but I'm really excited to check it out. So definitely I'm going to link the sign down below so you can read a little bit more information on that from IGN, so maybe you can get a little bit more information. So the last little segment we do of this show is the Game of the Week shout out. Last week was Saints Row 3, the remastered. Really enjoyed that game, beat it, had a great time. I actually have a review down in this channel. Go check that out. It's a couple minutes, not too long, that I give my in-depth thoughts on the game. So check that out if you want more information on that. But this week we're going to give a shout out to Cosmic Star Heroine. I actually picked it up on sale on the Nintendo Switch for really cheap, like $1.49 or something like that. And I was looking for something to play to kind of counteract the other games I was playing. I was finishing up Saints Row 3. I was playing Final Fantasy X, but I'm on the latter half of that game, and I wanted to pick up something that was like a nice palate cleanser. And I know RPG to RPG, but something that was thematically different, something that maybe was a little bit more old school to kind of counteract some of the newer style games I was playing. And so I picked up Cosmic Star Heroine, $1.49, and I have to say, like, I am in love with this game. It's fantastic. It's visually stunning. Amazing pixel art, some awesome like Genesis era graphics and gameplay styling. You're getting like an RPG here, definitely giving me some of the latter Phantasy Star games, a little bit of Final Fantasy VI in there too. Love the role playing. It strikes a perfect balance again between hardcore RPG, turn-based action, but at the same time it's pretty accessible in the grand scheme of things. You're not jumping into a massive hardcore experience as kicking your teeth in from the beginning. I think it's relatively accessible, and I think there's a lot of quality of life improvements that they make in this game that some of the old games didn't necessarily have. And I just really enjoy, and I enjoy like the recharge mechanism with using certain special things, and you kind of go into a defensive state, and that character is kind of out of commission for a little bit, and then you have your other characters that can kind of buff and supplement that character. So I think there's an awesome gameplay loop in there, and I would highly recommend you check this out if you're in any way into turn-based RPGs, if you're into any kind of Genesis era games and SNES era games and the 16-bit art style, if you're into Cyberpunk and stuff like that, this game is definitely going to be for you. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week, and again, we'll see you guys next Sunday with episode 3 of the NeoVintage News with all the top stories for you guys. Till next time, this is Jabril from NeoVintage Games.